And welcome to the channel. I'm Tim and this is Run Tall. If you're new here, welcome to the Run Tall family. I'm really glad that you are here and you found us on YouTube. Now, I post running videos every single day. Running shoe reviews, comparisons, and shoe battles. But I like to post a lot of other videos that are related to running as well, like training, recovery, and gear reviews. So if you're into that kind of thing, or maybe you're just looking for a daily dose of running, consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be notified each time that I upload new content. Now in today's video, I'm going to be recapping and just giving a summary of the first 5 weeks of the marathon training block that I'm using to help me prepare to go both to the Chicago and the New York Marathon. If you are new, I'm using a free program that's put out by Garmin, and I'll show you where you can find that if that's something that you might be interested in. It's the Self-Guided Advanced Marathon Training Plan, and I'm using it as a framework. So it's not necessarily the entire building because I'm not going to follow it exactly to the T, but I'm using the workouts as a guide. And what I love about it is once you've set the plan up, it's automatically loaded to your smartphone, and in my case, it's loaded. All the workouts are loaded to my Garmin Fenix 6, so I never have to look or even remember what the workout is that I'm going to be running that day because it's already preloaded. All I have to do is just hit run on my watch, and it'll say do workout, and I can say yes, and away we're off, and we're off and running. So I do love the Garmin programs, and again, it's absolutely free to do that. Now, I'm going to be looking away from time to time. This is a summary, so it should be a rather brief video, I hope. I'm going to try to keep it brief. Sometimes you guys, I know if you've seen some of my shoe reviews, I can get a little bit lengthy, but it always seems like I got a lot to say, especially about running shoes. So I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit more brief. All right. But I'm going to be looking away at my computer from time to time because I'm going to go to the website, connect.garmin.com, in order to be able to share the information with you. I did summarize a lot of this information ahead of time, just paper and pencil, old-fashioned way, to help kind of speed things up so that you can just get what I think is probably the most interesting of data that I have to share with you. So, okay, so I'm going to look away now and I'm going to go to connect.garmin.com. And I'm already logged in, so right away I'm right up at my dashboard, and I'm going to go all the way over to the left-hand side. So if you were looking to set up your own training program, this is what you would do as well. So go all the way over to the left, and then you're going to scroll down to where it says Training and Planning. Click on that. You're going to see a number of other options that pop up. You're going to go down to the second one, which says Training Plans, and I'm going to click on that. And now, if I didn't already have a program that I was following that was active, it would give me options, and it has a bunch of different options. So if you want to do a cycling plan, they have different things for cyclists, but running, swimming, that kind of thing. And if you're just interested in running, they've got 5K plans, 10K, half marathon, marathon. Some are guided, where the program adapts to you depending on how you're responding to the workouts that they have prescribed for you. And some of them are self-guided. In other words, they give you all the workouts to do, but there's no predetermined pace that you're going to be trying to shoot for. That's really up to you. And that's the one that I'm using. The one that I've used before this, I used the same training plan. It's the intermediate plan 3 different times to help prepare me for the Bayshore Marathon, the Detroit Marathon, and the Boston Marathon. So I just thought after using the same one for a year, it was time to do something different. So I decided to bump it up a notch and try the advanced program. All right, so that gives you a bit of brief history there. Now, because we're already into week 6, and I really just want to look at weeks 1 through 5, I'm going to click back to week 1. So that'll take us back to the first week. And at the top, it shows you the dates. So this started on June 19th, and it's going to run through October 8th, which is Marathon Race Day. Now, the first week was not really a full week. The program kicked off in the midweek, and because it kicked off in the middle of the week, it doesn't have a long run in the first week that's recorded. If we look at a calendar week, Sunday through Saturday, okay, because Sundays are my long run days. And so the first week here is going to go through Saturday. So the first long run would be on week 2 at the very start of it if you follow a standard calendar week. I hope that makes sense. And that's the best way for me to be able to summarize, the total mileage and that kind of thing. So that's what I just decided to stick with. All right, so I'm going to scroll over here and just kind of, oops, there we go. All right. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and you can see tons and tons of activities. I actually ran 7 different times for week 1. And I'm going to break down all of the different workouts it had me do, the number of times it had me do it, and the number of miles that were run for that particular type of workout it was having me do. But I'll get all through. I'm just going to kind of give you a brief overview of the first 5 weeks here, and then we'll go back and kind of summarize all of that data. Okay, so again, for week 1, it had me run 7 different times, a total of 40.8 miles. And you can see all the different types of workouts that it had me do. And I'm going to click over on week 2. Now, week 2, we bumped it up a little bit, but it was a full week. Remember, we started week 1 partway into the week, so there's no long run that was attached to it. So week 2, it was, again, 7 different workouts, but 46.47 miles. And then week 3, it was ran 9 different times for a total of 58.65 miles. And then week 4, again, had me running 9 different times for 63.08 miles. And then week 5 was 8 times, had me run 8 different times for a total of 55.75 miles. Now, I'm going to go back over here because I want to look at the calendar, because the calendar does a nice job of breaking it down by mileage at the end of the week for each of the different weeks. So this is in July, so I need to go back just one notch here because we started on June 19th. So I'm going to scroll down here and make it a little easier for us to see that. So June the 19th, it had me do, and this is, of course, week 1. Started out with an easy run. And then the next day we did some intervals and another easy run. And then I had a day of rest. And then on Thursday had an easy run and did a threshold run. Now, my structure, the way that I decided to run the different workouts on those 2-a-days is to do my speed work first. They always have the easy run or recovery run listed first. And that first week, that's how I did it, right? Because that was the first one that was listed. So that's the first one I did first thing in the morning. And in the mornings here, it's cool. And so it was pretty easy to do an easy run or recovery run first thing in the morning. But it was brutal trying to do speed work late in the afternoon when it's, 4 or 5 o'clock and the sun is at its peak in terms of warmth for the day. So, in the mid to high 80s, sometimes 90 degrees that time of day. So I did that the first day and learned quickly that it's better to do the speed work first thing in the morning when it's nice and cool, and then do the recovery run later in the afternoon. And I think it just makes more sense to do it that way anyway. I don't know what I was thinking that first day. I guess I just wanted to follow them in order, but that's not how I ended up doing it since then. So you live and you learn, I guess, a little bit there. Okay, and then at the end of that week, we had an easy run and then ran fartlek. Okay, so that kind of gives you a general sense of how the weeks are broken down. So I'm not gonna go through all of the different weeks like that, but the idea is that oftentimes, I would have 2-a-days that were scheduled, and that's typically, a couple times a week. And I would do the speed work in the morning and then do the recovery run later in the afternoon. And this program is pretty heavily skewed on recovery work. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So for the first 5 weeks, I ran 15 different recovery times for a total of 70.81 miles. So the majority of the workouts that I did were recovery runs. And then I had 6 easy runs, which is 30.85 miles. And then intervals, I ran 6 different times, and that ended up being 45.44 miles. We did one true threshold run, and I'll say one true threshold run for 6.81 miles. And that's because oftentimes in different workouts, it might have me start out at one pace, but then run at threshold pace for a certain period of time. But in this case, it was a full out, threshold workout. So just one of those in the first 5 weeks. Fartlek just had me do one of those. A steady run had me do 3. Now, this is kind of what I was just talking about. So the steady runs, the way that those are structured, the first 20 minutes, you're running at an easy pace. The next 20 minutes, you're running at a moderate pace. And then the last 20 minutes, you're basically running at threshold pace. So it's somewhat of a progression run, but Garmin calls it steady. They call it a steady run. So I did 3 of those for a total of 25.19 miles. and then it had me do hill work 4 different times for 28.59 miles. And then, let's see, steady run I did say was 25.19 miles, right? And then hill work was 28.59. And then I had 4 long runs because, again, I didn't get a long run in on that first week because it didn't start, the week didn't line up that way. So 4 long runs for a total of 48.17 miles. So far, the first 5 weeks, I've run 264.75 miles. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So heavily skewed with the recovery runs. Things are going pretty well so far, but I did make a bit of a change going into week 6. You know what, I'm going to talk, this video is already stuck a little bit long, so tune in tomorrow and I'll tell you what I've been doing for week 6 because, as I said, I'm using this as a framework, so it's just a guide and I'm not necessarily following it verbatim. I'm making choices based on what I think is going to give me my personal peak performance. I'm an older runner and sometimes, I can't do things exactly as prescribed because my body doesn't always respond the way that I necessarily want it to. All right, so, that's it for today's video. I'm just going to leave it at that, and I'll have you guys tune in tomorrow, and we'll talk a little bit more about week 6 and then what week 7 is going to look like for me. I'm really excited, by the way, for the Chicago Marathon. I got my wave assignment, so I'm going to be going out in wave 1. Corral D. So wave 1, Corral D. So I'm in wave 1, but I'm in the very back of the wave. I think it only goes to E, but I'm not positive. I've never run the Chicago Marathon. So, hey, thanks for making it to the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Right here on Run Tall with Ed. So, second 8 is done. And into every life, I guess a little rain must fall. That seems to be it for the last couple of workouts, running in the rain. The track is getting a little bit muddy, but I'm going to try to stick it out best I can.